Oh, welcome back to the channel. My name is Lisa Elvin Steltare, and I'm a genealogist and a passionate traveler. Over the last several years, I have been focusing my attention on this channel on telling the stories of les filles du roi and getting to know them. These are the incredible women who braved an ocean to help found a nation. So each of their stories is really unique and special to their descendants. So that's the goal of the series. Now, before we begin, let me show you ways you can support the channel. The first three keep you in the know. Subscribe, like, and notify. That is very important for all those YouTube logarithms or algorithms, I guess they're called. I don't even know what they're called. And absolutely appreciate subscribe is very, very important. And then like, of course, on individual episodes that you see. And then next are ways to help the channel itself really grow. And one of them is becoming a member. And the memberships are right on the YouTube, and they start at 99 cents all the way to $24.99, depending on your level of genealogical interest and that sort of thing. And then we also have the PayPal button that is found on my Have Roots Will Travel. A lot of you use that. And then also, that's something new that I love and giggle at when I get one. It's a super thanks. It's, to me, is like a tip. You know, you like an episode and you get excited and you send me a little tip. So it can be for any amount. Doesn't matter. So thank you to all of you who have done that thus far. And let's get started and get to know our next Fille du Roi. We're going to be looking today at Les Filles du Roi, episode 318, Marie Chauvet. Let's get to know Marie a little bit better. She comes to us from a specific viewer request, and I'm really glad. It was a very, very challenging story to tell. Let's get to know Marie a little bit better. So Marie was born in 1648 in Tonnay-Charente, which is part of the Nouvelle-Aquitaine region, and inside that region, part of the Charente-Maritime. This particular commune today has about 8,000 people, and her parents, before I forget, are Jacques Chauvet and Marie Madeleine. Tonnay-Charente is one of those towns that in the 17th century was part of the old French province of Saintonge, and it still sits along the Charente River, a key artery for trade and transportation. It was known for this river port and helped move important goods like salt, wine, and grain. And obviously this was a major, major route for people to work at, and this was a part of their livelihood. The main church in Tonnay-Charente is Saint-Etienne, Saint Stephen, which its history stretches back all the way to the 12th century, but obviously has had major renovations over time. So this is where Marie would have been born and baptized. So after her father died, she would come to New France aboard La Nouvelle France, arriving here July 3rd, 1668, and she carried with her a dowry worth about 300 pounds. So the groom that she would select, and who selected her, his name, Pierre Faye de Villefagnan, and he was born in 1637, and guess where? Villefagnan. His parents were Jacques Faye and Isabelle Gagne. The region of France that he's from is Nouvelle-Aquitaine, and he is from the département or county of Charente. It is really a small commune, and it's known for agriculture and beautiful, beautiful kind of history. And this is where we stand. These are kind of the walls that you can see it on the bottom left of your screen. Now, one of the town's main landmarks is the Église Saint-Pierre, which was built in the 12th century and modified, obviously, with time. In the 14th century, it was even expanded upon, but just definitely something we kind of look back and go, wow, look at all that it has endured. And this is where Pierre Faye came from. So Pierre would arrive in Canada on the 18th of June, 1665, as a soldier with the La Foy Company of the Carignan Regiment, the Carignan-Sanière Regiment. So, as many of these soldiers came before, they came, and some of them decided to stay, and he was one of them. By August of 1668, he and Marie were married in Quebec City. Now, Marie would struggle, and one of the things that happened is about 6 months after her marriage, she was already pregnant. She would accuse two men, Pierre Vivien and Etienne Leroy, of raping her. Unfortunately, the all-male judge did not view this very well and said, "Nah, they're all adulterers." And she was then charged with adultery along with the two men. She was sentenced to having her head shaved and being beaten. Remember, she's pregnant. She was then to be imprisoned with all the charges paid by her husband if he would take her back. To make matters even worse, Marie's pregnancy meant that her sentence was postponed until after she gave birth, which was in April. But sadly and tragically, her son died 4 days later. Marie was then sent to prison in July. Although it's not specifically stated, I can only assume that she received the same sentence as the men of 8 days in prison. The men in question were sentenced to 8 days in prison, as I've stated, and had to pay £28 each, 15 to the injured husband, and 10 to the hospital at Quebec, and 3 for the court costs. So you can make a judgment and say, at that time, did people believe women? Probably not. And here was this woman, she was pregnant. We have to assume that it was Pierre's baby. She was newly married. And why would she make this up? This is what I'm saying. I tend to err on the side of the woman. But there have been reports that she was, loose, if you will. And in order to hide her peccadillos from her husband, she would then later claim that she had been raped. And this was just a lie to kind of cover up her behavior. You can make your judgment. I prefer to believe that she was telling the truth. But we'll carry on and see. I think her life will prove one way or the other what the situation really was. The family would settle at Charlebourg, which is a historic neighborhood located just outside the center of Quebec City. It was actually founded in 1659, making Charlebourg one of the oldest towns in Quebec. What really makes it special is its unique design. You can see it in the left hand of your screen. You can see that square pattern with kind of like a star-shaped pattern. And then in the middle is that little square. We call that in French un trait carré. So it means a square. And in that square was the church. And this unique design meant that all of the houses and all of the land faced the church. Kind of interesting, don't you think? So this was very unique. I think there was one other place, I think it was in Manitoba, where it was practiced. And they had this kind of design, but really and truly, this is pretty unique. And you can see in the 1960 version, or aerial shot, you can see that it's maintained that structure even to today's world. And then we have the Church of Saint Charles de Borromée that was part of that. Obviously, it didn't look like that back then. This is more like what it would have looked like, the depiction of it in 1696. And so we can, honestly, when we walk the streets of Charlebourg, we are really walking in history. They would go on to have 10 children. Jean-Baptiste, as we have stated, died at birth. Pierre would pass away at the hospital in Quebec City in 1692 at the age of 55. He and Marie would have been married 23 years. Marie would carry on. She would go on to live until at least the age of 72. We do not have her death record, but she would live at least another 15 years on her own with her children certainly around her. Although she would leave us with only 37 descendants as of 1729, I believe there are a great many more alive today due to her legacy. And so ends our story of Marie Chauvet. Don't you just want to see the movie? What a life. What a thing she went through. It was hard for me to wrap my head around the fact she was accusing them of rape and then all of a sudden she got accused. Such was the times, you know. And absolutely enjoyed telling this story. I think she was extraordinarily brave. And, you know, the fact of the matter is that her life bespoke something very different than what she had been accused of. And so she went on to live, some may say an exemplary life and did not exhibit the kind of behavior that she was accused of. So I think that the proof is in the pudding. That's how I look at it. And I think she was extraordinarily brave. I think she had guts and determination. And if you're a descendant of this wonderful woman, I think you could be proud because I think she had what it took to survive. So I hope she passed that on to all of you and your descendants. And just amazing. We are blessed that she came to our shores, and we are ever so grateful. Thank you so much, Marie. And I want to say thank you to my patron supporters and subscribers. You are all amazing. Thank you so very, very much for helping me tell the story of these incredible women. Until I see you again, au revoir.